All right, so we are going to be starting here with the pot of tea problem. So it says as a teapot cools, we're talking about a bunch of temperatures being given, and it's decreasing in temperature because it's cooling off. So no problem there. You guys can still see my screen in the top right corner, correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so for part A, they're asking you to approximate H prime of 3.5. Now, half the battle to this AP free response is getting the answer right. The other half of the battle is writing it out the way they want you to. So this isn't me being picky or anything like that. This is just the way they grade. So you want to get the word it, IT. You want to get that out of your vocabulary. Never going to use it again as far as this test goes. So it's never going to be it is, it's going to be what is. You have to kind of like a complete sentence almost. So for like part A, I'm not going to say it is whatever it is. It's going to be, we're going to repeat what they ask. H prime of 3.5 is approximately equal to, so you're always going to start with whatever it is they're asking for. So it's approximately equal to, and to approximate this tangent slope, we're just going to see where 3.5 lands on this table. So it's between 2 and 5. So we're going to find the slopes using 2 and 5, right? So we're going to say it's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And then a little bit of math there, that's negative 8/3. And then we got to get these units right. So whenever you're going up in a derivative, so like regular to h prime or h prime to h double prime, you add one on to the units. So this is really, what are we talking about here? This is degrees per minute squared. Okay, degrees per minute squared. So in terms of part A, do we have any questions?
So
Wait, how? Oh, sorry, you go.
you picked 3.5, or it was 3.5, and then so that's in between 2 and 5. That's why you.
Yeah, exactly. So if they asked for 9.5, I'm using these ones over here.
Okay.
There was another question, or did that answer it for you?
Wait, so how do you write the answer out?
Exactly as you see here. So
Okay.
everything I do here is going to be as close as I possibly can do it for you guys as to what they want to see. So h prime of 3.5 is approximately equal to, show the slopes, get an answer, put on some units.
The end, like if, I mean, I did my work all on like the same line, but then I went back and I rewrote the answer. Should I like start writing the answer at the beginning and then show the work in the middle and then finalize it at the end, or can I just rewrite that like h prime of 3.5 is approximately equal to negative 8/3?
I don't think it's going to make a difference. As long as everything you have is correct, it shouldn't make a difference.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, heading to part B. Explain the meaning of this, that integral, and then we're going to use a trapezoidal estimate. So there's a lot of things to unpack here. First off, we want to know the meaning. So remember, I said we're never using the word it. So we're not going to say it means, we're going to say 0 to 10 h of t dt. Okay, that's what they're asking you here for. And then it's going to be a total, right? This is a total amount. So explain the meaning of this. So h of t dt 0 to 10, it's the total. What is that going to stand for? The total degrees that it cooled off. It's the total number of degrees that it cooled. We're talking about a total amount, and this particular problem is talking about the total amount of degrees that it's cooling off. And then when we get into the trapezoidal estimate, this part, more so than the last part, super, super, super important. This is on the AP exam. This will save you a lot of time. So it's going to start, we're going to start by saying 0 to 10 h of t dt is approximately equal to, and then you're going to go through and you're going to do your math, right? So if it was a multiple choice question, you're taking a Tuesday test for me, you're drawing a bunch of trapezoids, you go run some calculations, you'll get an answer. Did anybody get an answer that they can share, just out of curiosity?
It was a big number. I got 1,059 over 2, but I'm not sure that's right.
That is correct. It's either that or 529.5. Those are equivalent. Okay, either way. So that's good. Now, it probably took you a little while to get. Is that correct?
Yeah, it took a while.
Okay, so here's the deal. Free response questions. They will give you credit for anything that's equivalent. So what I mean by that is if your answer is 8, then you choose to tell them that the answer to the question is 6 plus 2, they're going to give you credit. They will give you credit on free response for anything equivalent. And so you can really take advantage of that. One of the places where you can do that is on Riemann sums. So we got to learn, and I'm going to show you here, how do we, it's not cheating. I mean, I kind of call it cheating. It's how can you cut some corners here? And this is a big one you can cut. So you don't have to do the math for this problem. Here's all you have to do. First off, you want to go off to the side somewhere on your scratch paper. And on your scratch paper, you want to draw your 4 blank trapezoids. Now, if you draw your trapezoids on the AP exam where you do your answer, they're not going to give you any credit. So now don't get me wrong. I think trapezoids are a good idea. I think it's good to organize your information. So pretend that this down here, this is my scratch paper, and I draw 4 trapezoids, right? So we've got 1, 2, 3, and again, this is just scratch paper, 4. Okay, I got 4 trapezoids, and then I want to get the dimensions ready for these trapezoids. So the dimensions are going to be 2, 3, 4, 1. Then we get our y values in there, and the y values are going to be 66, 60, 60, 52, 52, 44, 44, 43. Okay, does anybody have any questions on the dimensions of those blank trapezoids that we have? Okay, so we're good. All right, so what's the process here to get this area? It's add up the bases, cut it in half times the height. So for this first one, it's 66 plus 60, cut it in half is divided by 2 times the height times 2. Check this out. Here's all we got to write. So when it comes time to write our answer, make a bracket. It's add up the bases, cut it in half times the height. Done. Don't do any math. Plus, next trapezoid. Repeat the process. Add up the bases. This should be giving you a sense of relief. Cut it in half times the height. You don't have to actually do all the crazy math. So plus a third one. I'm not writing all this out. Plus a fourth one, and then you stop right there. That's it. That's your answer. So that's equivalent to 529.5 or whatever the fraction was that somebody else said. They'll give you full credit for that, and you don't have to worry about, did I make a math error? Did I screw something up? Questions, thoughts, comments? Everybody's good? Okay, Riemann sums, free response. That's how we're answering. Part C. Using correct units, explain the meaning. What is the meaning of that fraction out front? Somebody.
Isn't it average value?
Yep, average value. So to answer the question, we're going with, repeat what they said, 1 over 10, integral of 0 to 10, h of t dt. What we were saying about it, it represents, remember it's average value, and then we got to say, well, what are we talking about? It's not value, it's average. What is this problem talking about? Represents the average temperature over 0 to t to 10. 1 to 10, 1 over 10 out front, that fraction is telling us that we are talking about average value. Okay. Any questions on that? And then it says to use a left-hand Riemann sum to estimate the answer. So you're going to do the same exact kind of stuff that we did in part B, which is going to be, I'm going to need a new piece of paper to do that. I'm not in the room, but it's going to be that. For part C still, it's 1 over 10, 0 to 10, h of t dt. Remember, Riemann sums are approximations, so we don't say equal, we say approximately equal to. And then off to the side on your scratch paper, you should have 4 rectangles. Always do your blank shapes, blank rectangles, blank trapezoids. It's a really good way to organize the information. And then once you've done that, you come up here. And so for the first one, it should be 66 times 2 plus. The next rectangle, it's going to be 60 times 3. And then you do it again, and you do it again, and that's your answer. Now, what did I forget here? Anybody? What am I missing?
The units.
I'm okay without the, yeah, units would be okay. Yeah, that's going to be degrees. What else did I miss here mathematically?
The explanation.
Don't need an explanation. I'm pointing to it.
You have to multiply the 1 over 10 by it.
Yeah, so if you're going to do this longhand form like this, you also got to do this. Divided by 10. It's the same thing as multiplying it by 1/10. Okay. Now, if you so desire, you can totally go do all this math and divide it by 10. Or you can just leave it like this and not risk any math mistakes. Questions? What was the actual answer? I don't know off the top of my head. Anybody do it?
I got 564.
Sounds familiar. Anybody else want to verify that? I don't have an answer key. I can do the math if you want to find it out. Anybody else get 564? What would the next one have been? 52 times 4, and then 44 times 1. So if we did that math, what would you get? Yeah, it sounds like everyone's getting the same thing. So yeah, sounds like 564 if you did do the math. Okay. All right, guys, that's the end of that free response question. Do we have any questions? So that all makes sense. Everybody's good. No one's freaked out by free response or anything like that. We're good.
Are we going to get to like, I mean, I'm assuming so, but we're going to be able to do questions like these again so we can like make sure that we retained all of this?
Yep, you got an assignment over the weekend that mirrors all this.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, you'll see lots of these over the next 3 months. You're not supposed to master this the first time you see it. But as long as you're consistently trying them, working on them, which is what the whole second half of the year of calculus is about. That's why I was so insisting that you guys come to these night classes, because this is half of the AP exam is questions just like this. And there's the only way you can get good at them is by doing, like 1,000 of them. And there just wasn't enough time by January 31st to get that done. So that's all we're going to be really doing for the last half of the year is free response. All right, so that
are we learning? Like I know because you just said we're doing like a lot of free response. How much more content, like new content, are we learning?
Not that much.
Okay.
A little bit. There's a couple lessons, like actual brand new, never seen it before lessons, probably 4 or 5 of them.
Okay.
But like you're just starting to see now that all of these free response questions are like a big treasure hunt of all the skills you learned in the first half of the year.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, so let's see, we've got. Where did it go? Okay, so that takes us to the next one. Next problem is talking about Jeff. Jeff jogs. So here was our problem for Jeff jogs. So this was about his movement over a period of time. You have a table that models his velocity. So we're talking about how fast he's moving over a period of time. Part A should look super familiar to you. It's the same exact part A as the other question, just different numbers. So for part A, remember, we're going to start with repeating what they want us to find. So we want to find V prime of 14. So V prime of 14 is approximately equal to, I'm heading up to the chart and I'm figuring out where 14 fits in with those X values. It's between 10 and 18. So I'm going to go with 200 minus 120 over 18 minus 10 gives me 80 over 8 gives me 10. And what are we talking about here? Meters per minute. So this is meters per minute squared because we went up one derivative.
So for questions like these, could you also just like leave it as like 200 minus 120 over 18 minus 10?
Yeah, definitely. I guess I have a habit of, if the math is easy, I do the math. And then if the math is a disaster, I leave it. And the only reason I have a habit of doing that is that you'll see as we do more and more of these problems, some of them will use an answer from like a part A or a part B. So if the math is easy, probably just go ahead and do it. If you have some crazy Riemann sum and the answer is 529.5 and it takes 10 minutes to get it, that's the kind of problem that we're going to be more inclined to just leave it as the math.
Okay, that makes sense.
And if it's going to be a crazy problem, the College Board's actually expecting you to leave it. And they're most likely not going to have you recall that answer because they know they were giving you something that was pretty crazy. Okay, part B. Using correct units, explain the meaning of this thing. So we talked about that yesterday. 0 to 50. Remember, we're not saying it is, it's this integral is. So 0 to 50, absolute value via t dt. And then you can phrase this however you want. Stands for, represents, whatever. It represents the, what does it represent? It represents the total distance traveled, depends how nice you want to write it out, but by Jeff on 0 to t to 50. Okay, so that would be full credit. The absolute value of via t dt, when you integrate that, it's the total distance traveled. Total
Would it also be
distance
acceptable
traveled.
to just say over 50 minutes, or is it better to give like the?
I don't think that's wrong. My habit, my pattern is just whatever interval they give, I just mimic it back to them.
Okay, thank you.
This might be a stupid question, but is there a way for us, like, what should I be looking for when I'm trying to figure out what total it means? Like, why isn't it the minutes, if that makes sense at all?
Oh, we're integrating velocity, right?
Oh, you're totally right. That makes sense.
So yeah, I mean, it's hard sometimes to piece together what it is. Just know that the integral is going to be a total amount, and then it's going to be like, just kind of say to yourself, total amount of what? And this one's kind of not quite explanatory. Most of them kind of just say, total amount of whatever I'm talking about. The total amount of velocity, when you do it over a period of time, that's what gives you the total distance traveled. But most of them, it's just going to be like total amount of snow, total amount of water, total amount of whatever. This is a special case, so this one's worth memorizing. Most of the other ones, though, are just going to be total amount of whatever you're talking about in that formula.
Great, thank you.
Mr. Baker, why did you use like approximately? Why didn't you use like the equal sign?
Up here in part A?
Yeah.
Because this is not the exact answer. We're approximating it. So anytime you see in the directions, estimate or approximate, go with squiggly signs. That means we're not getting an exact answer. We're just getting something that represents that. So in other words, think of this. Think if I gave you one of those random curves, and here is 2, and here is 5, and I'm telling you to estimate the derivative slope. I'm telling you to estimate that tangent slope. And you're like, I don't know, but I do know what's going on at 2 and 5. And at 2 and 5, you're finding that slope up there and you're using it to estimate 3.5. Now, this isn't a mean value theorem question, so I'm not guaranteeing you that the dashed line is the same as the solid line. I'm just saying it's pretty close. So that's why I'm going with the squiggly sign.
Okay, when do we know to use the approximate?
Keywords are going to be estimate or approximate. So if you look in part A, estimate. Part B, approximate. If you see things like that, that's telling us that you're not getting the exact answer. You're just getting something close.
Would it count as wrong if you forgot the squiggly and just put the normal one?
I don't think. I do not think that's the difference between right and wrong. Again, though, this is, you'll see, like you're starting to see right now, as you ask that question, the second half of the year, this is more conversation between us than it is. I mean, it's going to get you to the right answer. I'm totally going to get you to the right answer. But some of these grading points, it's going to be kind of us talking about it versus like at the beginning of the year, I can definitely tell you why choice C is the right answer. When you do free response, it's a little bit more of a gray area. And I don't work for College Board, so I can't tell you the official answer. All I can tell you is what I've read over the last 5-6 years of all their information. I don't think that's the difference between right and wrong. Okay. Anything else? All good questions. All right. And then in part B, it also said to approximate the value using we changed midpoint. What did I change it to?
Left hand.
Okay, so you know how to do that now. So already we're able to skip over some stuff, hopefully. So for part B, you're going to say that 0 to 50 via t dt, we're approximating, so I'm going squiggly signs. It's approximately equal to, and we're doing a left-hand Riemann sum. So it's something times something, plus something times something, plus something times something, plus something times something. You would fill in all the dots beside all the multiplication symbols, and you would stop right there. And we want to put some units on that. So it's his total distance traveled. What's he traveling in meters? So your answer would be in meters.
So for this one, there are a ton of numbers in the table. Do we do it for every single one, or does that like
yeah, I guess I didn't think about that either. So this was set up for a midpoint. You needed even more than 4. So to do a midpoint one, again, that's not an AP exam. So the midpoint one, Caroline, like that right there would be your first rectangle. It would be 10 units wide, and then the 5 is the midpoint between 0 and 5. That would be the height you use, which is 100. And then we would go 10 to 26. The midpoint of that actually is 18. You'd use that 200 for height. So this one only had 3 rectangles. It was set up for midpoint. So the data sets you would get would have way less numbers than this.
But just for like when you're doing them, you would do all of the numbers for
Yeah, based on the directions I gave you here, you would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 rectangles, I guess.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Anything else, guys? Anybody get an actual answer for this one? For part B? If not, that's fine. All right, heading to part C. Brian rides his bike. So Brian rides his bike, and you always want to identify to yourself, what are they giving me? B a t. What is B a t? B a t is the velocity. So they're really giving you the first derivative. Even though it's labeled B a t, in your mind, you're saying, all right, I got the first derivative. And then it says, find the acceleration at t equals 5. So to do that, first off, we want to say b prime of t. We want to find the acceleration formula. So b prime of t is equal to 6t squared minus 6t. Then we want to plug in 5. So b prime of 5 is equal to, let's just toss our 5 in. And when you do that, that's going to be 120. And then what are we talking about here? Meters, we're going up a derivative again, meters per minute squared. Okay. Any questions on C? Okay, let's talk about part D. All right, for D, find Brian's average velocity. They're being very clear about this. You just need to know what you're talking about. How do we find average something?
You use the average value formula you gave us.
Yep, so what are we doing?
You do 1 divided by BA, which in this case, if I did it right, is 10 minus 0.
Mm-hmm.
So just 10. And then times the integral of 10, 0. Well, 10's the top bottom.
From 10 to 0,
down,
from 0
yep.
to 10.
And then b of t dx.
dt, whatever your what, yeah, d whatever, match it up with the d.
Oh,
whatever
gotcha,
variable you
gotcha.
have. All right, good. So yeah, you can do b of t dt, or if you want, just copy the formula in because we're going to have to integrate it. So that's 3t squared plus 200 dt. All right, so we've got the setup. Now you just have to go do that math problem. So I'm going to turn the screen off, share so we can see better. Okay, so now we just need to integrate this. So if you were to integrate this, this would be 2t to the 4 over 4. So 2 over 4 is a half. So this is half t to the 4th minus t to the 3rd over 3. Now I lied, that should cancel. That'd be 3t to the 3rd over 3. So that's just t to the 3rd plus 200t from 0 to 10. And let's not forget our 1/10 out front. Any questions on that integration? Okay, next up. Now, something important to note, you can't leave this. When it's integration, you got to at least put the bounds in order for it to count as showing the math. So you can't leave it like this. We got to actually plug stuff in. So you can do this if you want. You can go 1/10 times that 10 to the 4th minus 10 to the 3rd plus 200 times 10. Let's put all of that in parentheses minus 0. Because if I plug 0 in, I'm getting 0 across the board. You can absolutely leave that as an answer. Looks crazy, but you can do it. If you did the math, you get 600. So either one of those is good. Anybody have any questions?
So the 1 over 10, that's multiplied by the whole answer, not the.
The whole thing.
Okay.
Same thing as get this whole answer. And then, so in other words, when you did the math that was in these brackets, it was going to be 6,000. So then when you multiply 6,000 times 1/10, it's just like divide the answer by 10.
And when we write this out, I mean, I ended up doing all the numbers, but like if we left it at the last thing that we wrote down, that big bracket,
Yep.
Do we just like leave it there? Should we box it? Should we?
They don't give you clear guidelines. You can box in your answers. It's personal preference. Sometimes though, if you box something in and like you had something right elsewhere and you weren't sure about it, they're only going to focus on that boxed in answer It's kind of up to you, really. Like I would just make sure you're comfortable with what you have. Yes, that's correct, Fatima. You has to be all math, no speculation as because like up here, for all they know, you have no idea where to plug this 10 in, which goes in first. 0, 10, they don't know that you know. So the only way is it's got to be all numerical, and that if you were to like punch all this into a calculator, it's the same thing as the answer. So if there's any variables, then that leaves things open for interpretation.
Mr. Baker,
Yep.
if it hadn't been a 0 as the bottom bound, would we have had to like do the whole thing?
Yep. So the only reason we got away with 0 is I just knew 0, 0, 0. But if that was any kind of a number, we would write it out just like we did the first part and put it all in.
Okay.
If you wrote out like the super long answer, and then you like simplified it, but you made a mistake.
You missed the problem. You'll miss the problem.
Okay.
If you did this math and then instead of getting 600, you got 500, you don't get credit. So that's why I'm going to advise you guys just leave it. And then this will play out over long quotient rules, messy product rules, all sorts of stuff. So you can save lots of time doing this, and it cuts a lot of the math mistakes down. So as long as your calculus is good, doesn't really matter if you're good at general math anymore. You can just leave it like that. Okay. All right. So last call. Any questions on these? Okay. So don't be freaked out if you don't understand it all perfectly. It's only your first 2 free response problems. We're going to do seriously over 100 of these before you take the AP exam on all sorts of different topics and stuff. It just takes practice, repetition, stuff like that. So if you look on Canvas, you will see module, whatever it is, module under modules, it'll say Thursday, 2-4, and then it says in big letters due Monday. So you've got Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday morning. You got tons of time to get this done. It's like 10 multiple choice and 2 free response questions. So I can't make you guys do it, but it's really the only way you learn these free response questions and stuff is by trying it, doing it, coming to class and seeing what you got right and what you got wrong. And then I'll go over this on Monday. That'll be what we're up to. So half of this second half of the year is going to be you guys putting in some work. And then this other part of it is me showing you what you did right, what you did wrong, how we get to the final answer. Yeah, I will be definitely sending out reminders to tell you guys to do this. So, and yeah, you are always welcome to send questions on Remind. So take a screenshot of whatever it is you're working on, send messages. You got 4 or 5 nights to get it done. Important thing is that you just try them. So it shouldn't take you more than like an hour for 10 questions and 2 free response. So sometime between now and Monday, let's sit down and try those. Message me on Remind with your questions. And then Monday night, we will be going over everything on that packet, all 10 multiple choice and both free responses. And then Monday, we're going to kind of look at also how the grading works, or maybe Tuesday, we'll see how time is, how the grading works and what to expect from there. Other than that, that's about it. Also, I haven't seen you guys yet to tell you, we do have to take that MAP test, MAP, next Wednesday. I don't know what to tell you guys as to what to expect. It's not going to affect anything. You're going to want to do your best on it, but certainly don't be nervous or anything like that. I mean, your grades are already locked in for calculus, so it's just something the school is requesting. So know that next Wednesday, there's going to be something coming out prior to that. It's like Wednesday morning. It'll be held in my Zoom chat with like every kid I have, which is my current pre-calculus classes and the 3 calculus classes I had last semester. So there's going to be like 160 of you in a chat room. So I have no idea what to expect. It's like 55 questions. It's going to take a couple hours. Do your best, but don't freak out over it. Information will be coming out early next week as to what to expect there. Okay. Any questions? What's that, Helen?
I got from my history teacher, she was mentioning there were some changes to like the AP exams, and I wasn't sure if that affected anything with this class.
Probably. I'm waiting for details. I will know more in the next week or two to come when they start releasing stuff. They'll be emailing me. As I start to find stuff out, I'll be letting you know.
Great, sounds good.
We still got about 3 months to hammer that out, and we still got a lot to learn. But you'll definitely, I promise, you'll know everything that I know before you take the test.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
You got it. All right, guys, that's all I got. So have a good night, and I will talk to you guys on Monday night, and probably a lot of you over the weekend with questions over this. So don't be shy. Reach out with your questions. I'm sure you'll have some. So I will talk to you over the weekend, and we will go over this on Monday.
Mr. Baker,
Yes.
is the map test like based off of the AP Calc curriculum?
I don't think so. I think it gets cut off at.
I should know if it was like an SAT like type of thing or like
Yeah, my guess is it would be like pretty algebra 2 driven, geometry, algebra-ish. I think it's a test that I could be wrong. So I don't want to say something and tell you that. So I could be wrong. I'm thinking it's more standardized than
okay. I
current.
just didn't know if
but
it was like tailored to each class or if it was like just a
yeah, I'm not sure, truthfully. We're going to find out. Well, either way, you'll be ready for it. There's nothing they're going to throw at you in calculus that I
Yeah.
haven't taught you yet. So
Okay.
whatever it is, we'll do it.
thank you.
All right. See ya.
Thank you.